Oh, yes. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Nathaniel Evans, Jeannie Muhammad, the host of I Am the Data podcast. Nathaniel
Yes.
Evans, I focus on leadership, spirituality, developing ourselves as people. And I'm telling you, this has been a hellified journey, working in this space and working in the different arenas I've worked in a short time span I've been alive. And I tell you, this is endless. To create ourselves as leaders, to seek spirituality is an endless quest. Like it's just something that there is no quick fix. There is no utopia. There is no defining moment. It's actually just moving like the wind a lot of times and just finding your space. And before I get into my topic, I'm gonna introduce my co-host, Gina Muhammad, and she again give you a brief about what's going on with her today.
Peace and blessings. I am Jeannie Muhammad, your global happiness expert. You know how there are just so many of us that have challenges in our lives and have lost ourselves in those challenges. Well, what I do through my coaching and through my books and my speaking, I empower people to know that they can heal from within and that they have the capacity to heal from within to find joy, peace, and happiness in their lives. And I want to start out as I usually do by offering my thanks and gratitude for being here today, for being alive, and for waking up this morning to this beautiful, beautiful day. I am so grateful for life. I am grateful for you being here with us. I'm grateful for Nathaniel for sharing his space with me, and it's always such a blessing to be here with him. So I am grateful. And so now, Nathaniel, do you have time for time?
Mm, I have time for Tom. I don't.
You don't?
Nah.
You don't have time for time.
Yeah, because time is of essence by itself, right?
Okay.
It moves with or without me, right? So even if I strive to try to control it and to dominate it and to shift it in the perspectives that I want, I'm never able to fully grasp it, right? And that's one of the beauties of time is because it belongs to all of us. It doesn't belong to one person, right? We all are responsible, components of time, right? Like it's
Okay.
it's it's a force that's in our world, a being that's in our world that moves us as we move with life, right? As we're creating within the time of life itself, and it affords us the right to benefit from all the things that we conceive, that we perceive in life, all our goals, our desires, and to let us know that, we're not in control of it, right? So it's like people always say things like, when I get the time, I'm going to do this. And when I get the time, I'm going to do that. But then you hear people say, wow, my time has passed. Like I didn't insert myself the right way. So that time that I was supposed to have hit the mark, I let that time expire. I came too late. I was too early. I really appreciate, that moment that I was in to actually move with that beat of time, right?
Okay.
Like time is like it's like your heartbeat. Like it's constantly moving and it's constantly thriving. It's propelling you too. It's actually enforcing its rule over you. It actually whisper in your ear like, yo, you need to go here, you need to go here, you need to do this, you need to do that. And to really consider time is what I would look at is actually to consider life, right? There is no separation between the two, right? It's only when we realize that, wow, man, I wish I had more time, right? That now I can do the things that I want to do. It was a king that's in the Bible, and he had, the Most High gave him a disease, and he was passing. So he told the Most High, listen, I know that I'm about to pass away, but in my kingdom there are things that's still here that I haven't been able to do because I didn't use a lot of my time the right way. Can you extend my time by X amount of time so I can enforce these things and put these things in place before I moved on? And the Most High had actually granted that to him. He actually extended his time for a period of time. And because he knew, and this is one of the things that people don't realize, because he knew the day, the time, and the hour that he was going to expire, he used his time effectively. He put the things in place that he asked the Most High to grant him because he knew that he was on borrowed time. We are all on borrowed time, but we don't see it like that. We see it as if when I get the time, I'm going to do this. When I get the time, I'm going to do that. I'm going to build a healthy life for myself, you know what I'm saying, in 2035, right? I'm going to have children, because my career is so important right now that I don't want to have children until I actually become famous or until I actually accumulate this amount of money or until I actually accumulate this type of power. And then you get into spaces where you actually have no more eggs, right? And you can't have any children. You're like, whoa, I missed the time period when I'm supposed to have children because I thought I was going to have time to have children. When a man doesn't realize that he's sterile, you know what I'm saying? Or he became sterile because he had an accident or something like that. And then you say, oh, man, when I was 19, the girl was pregnant by me, I should have had that child because now I can't have any children. I told her to get an abortion. I thought I had more time to make up for that time of a child I didn't want at that time. So I got a child later on in time, right? We
Mm-hmm.
lose the essence of time by considering time to be something that we able to dominate and to control. We believe that we have the essence to manipulate something that was actually granted and given to us as a gift, but we don't move like a lot of times as if it's a gift.
Okay. And as we were talking earlier about time, one thing that I think sometimes that we do not consider is that our time and God's time are two different things. We go on about when we think about time, we think of it in terms of 24-hour days. We think about it in terms of, 1 year, 2 years, or whatever. But is that really time?
Hmm.
Or is it what we have been given as time? And so much of what we do is based on what this world has given us as time.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you say, do you have time for time? Then I have to say, whose time?
Hmm.
Whose time? Sometimes we are stymied by what is taught to us about different time periods of our life. You're supposed to be, by the time that you're 30 or 35, supposed to have finished college, or you have this degree, then you go out and you get a job, and by the time that you're 40, you should have your own house, you should be married, you should have children, you should live have a certain income. And certain people are made to feel inferior if they have not accomplished that within that time. But whose time? You
That's
know?
like where did this time measurement come from? Right? Where someone is able to dictate to you, you know what I mean, what it takes to get from point A to point B. Right? But it's not their life. You know what I'm saying? Like it's actually your life, right? And the reason why this topic I believe is so essential because it is time, especially in times like these, because we're all living in time, right? It's time to consider the time of your life and what the time of your life consists of, right? What it is that you're going to apply in your life with the time that you have, right? You may feel that an hour here or hour there doesn't make a difference because I can waste 3 hours, I can waste 5 hours of time of my life because I have more time to consider these things. I have more time to actually be able to do these things, right? But if you ever been an individual that experienced untimely death, that we may call untimely death because we wasn't expecting the person to pass away. It wasn't like they was already sick, and then it was like they're not going to be here that long because they're sick or they're fighting through this different battles and things of that nature. It may be a time where a person just expired overnight, and you're like, wow, I wish I had more time with that person, right? I wish I'd have took the time out to actually sit down with that person and talk to that person, you know, and then you realize that the time is really precious. Like time is, it's an essential matter that's in my life. It's way more important than a lot of things that I actually put in front of it, right? Because I believe that I can dictate it the way that I want to dictate it because I have been given this graph by the society on how to manipulate time, right? And how to cultivate it according to my life. And then I realized that I've been deceived by this graph. I realized that
You
I don't have the time yet. What you were
okay.
saying?
Uh-huh. And
So
and you put that say do you control time? And see, and that is uh uh a lot of times we have to consider what do we have control over. Now we don't have control over the time, but we do have control over what we do with our time. So you're so spot on when you talk about see your time, what you do with your time, and how you choose to uh, use your time. That's Nathaniel. You know, we're all individuals. We're all unique. Now, when I during the when I should have been in when I was in college, my professors and my counselors thought I should be working towards a degree with the time that I had in college. That was not what I wanted. I was not there to get a degree. I was there to gain knowledge. They did not understand that about my thinking. I took a class. There were some classes I took 2 and 3 times. I took them so many times, Nathaniel, I wasn't getting credit for those classes. I was just going because of what I was gaining as knowledge from those classes. So my counselors and my professors, they considered me wasting my time. But was I wasting my time? No, I was using my time for what I wanted out of that time, you know? And so uh as we, get older, some people say, "Oh, I'm 40, my life is over." You know, I'm 50, I haven't accomplished this. I'm 60,
mm-hmm,
I still haven't. But is it too late? Has your time run out? Now it may have run out for some things. You mentioned that about having a baby and then or maybe someone at 19 not having that child that they and now they wish that they did. But then let's flip that, Nathaniel. That person see it as their time has passed. But when you think about fatherhood and all, is it just from your seed that you could be a father or a dad? I mean, because we have a lot of um,
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of surrogate mothers and surrogate dads that's in the land, and you have to look at it too as far as your legacy, like passing on our different legacies that's in the land, right? Do we have time to create legacies,
okay.
or will we increase the legacies of other people, right?
Okay, well, let's go back to that story in the Holy Quran where Moses is following the wise man and he kills uh, the little boy. And the wise man was, why would you kill that child, that innocent child? Why would you kill that child? And Moses said, or the wise man said, once, he was starting to explain to Moses what he was doing, he said, I knew that that child would be a hindrance or would be bad for his parents. And I want to give him something better, a better. So, what I'm saying about that is sometimes in what we have as time, we don't understand what is happening to us as far as the things that are happening in our life, but they may be best for us.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand your logic and where you're going from, and that's one of the reasons why this topic I feel is so essential, because when we come to the point of understanding that we don't have time for time because we don't understand time. We're not controlling the nature of time, right? We're not the perfectionists of time, right? And because of that, this is when in this society as a whole, we able to release ourselves from certain things that's correlated to time. We're able to release ourselves from certain realities that was associated to a time period that we was in, what we experienced. Like if I go study with certain men, they talk to me about antiquity times. They talk to me about AD times or before Christ times and different things at that time. And I let them know a lot of times that I wasn't in those times, right? And if I was in those times, I'm not conscious of those times. So that time was not my time. That's the reason why I'm not in that time. And I don't understand that time. A lot of times we would actually use the time that we have to try to journey into a time period that is no longer evident, right? That time has no longer have a value for us other than the fact that we're going to use that time to learn from it, you know what I'm saying, and create solid examples or principles for our lives or for the lives of other people. But for us to be into a time period, like for instance, I was on a journey one time and a woman asked me, she said, I was this same journey that you're on, I was on this journey when I was 18 years old. At the time, she was 70 years old. She said, why am I back on this journey at 70 years old? And I was on this same journey at 19, right? And I looked at it and said, because the time that you was in was for that time, but that time has expired and you wasn't able to do the things that you had to do in that time. So now you reintroduce again to this time all over again, right?
And Nathaniel, did she learn at that time what she was brought here or manifested here to learn? There are
The
certain
second
things.
time, yeah, the second time around, she was able to understand it. The first time around, it was just like, I'm here. My friends might have brought me here. Someone introduced this to me, so this is why I came on this platform. It wasn't really a part of who I was, but now all of a sudden, it comes back in full circle 50 years later, right? And it's like, okay, were you really a part of that time? Were you really supposed to make some significant changes in that time period in your life? Was it something like when you look at a stamp, right? Like a stamp of approval on your spirit, like because you and I speak a lot of times about transitioning, right? But
Mm-hmm.
how do you transition without the proper stamps? Like I'm saying, like without the proper things of approval that was given. All right, she passed this test. Here go a stamp. She was able to bring this forth. Here go her stamp. You know what I'm saying? Like this happened. Here go the stamp. Right? Or do we get stamps in our lives that actually propel us to move forward, to actually give us that healthy transition that we need, or we just here on borrowed time? We just here just for the sake of time itself that we're here. You know what I'm saying? Or is time basically like our greatest friend, right? Like it's an essence to us that actually is here to improve us, right?
Right,
And
because
approve us, and
right.
approve us,
And
right?
because when you said earlier, what are we doing with the time that we have? What are we
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
with it?
What are you doing with it? Like I was on an event the other day, and I was just like kind of like taken aback in a little bit. My spirit conjured up, and I was like, let me speak about this certain matter that's actually affecting me. And I'm like, yo, I'm in a time period where man has created systems to destroy and entrap other men, right? He has actually created systems where he can benefit from the entrapment and enslavement of other men and from the hunting down of other men. And he has created tools in the land that other men can use so he can entrap them later on by using these tools, right? He has created the gun, the knife, poison, right? And because he created these things, now he can actually pursue man and actually extract man from off the earth, you know what I'm saying, to live a free life, right? Because he has picked up one of these tools and resources to use, you know what I'm saying, for his own life, right?
Right.
And I was standing there and, I see all these people. I see women standing like this, you know what I mean? I see men, with their body closed in, right? And all that shows me is that they're not here for the times, right? They don't understand that in order to be released in time, you have to release yourself according to the time. You can't say, oh, no one should approach me, right? I don't want to hear anything that anybody has to say. Please stay away from me, sir. You know what I'm saying? Things of that nature. And when I was speaking to them, I was saying, if you say that you want to destroy something and you get in the room and you don't bring a herd of others with you inside the room, there's nothing that you are going to be able to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot have a farm with one cow, right? You can't do it, right? Just, you
Wait a
right?
minute. Are you saying I can't have a fishing pond with one fish?
You can't have a fish with a fishing pond with one fish. How are you going to eat? Wait, every time you grab a fish, you're going to be like, oh, this is my only fish. You're going to throw it back in. You can't eat it because that's the only fish you got. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it would make just, now what you're going to do when you get hungry, right? So you got to bring 1,000 fish in there, right? You got to allow them to procreate, you know what I'm saying? And produce more fish for you so you can take this fish or take that fish. You can eat and then come back and it's 30 more fishes that have been produced after you ate that one fish. But if you only got one cow in the room, right? How everybody gonna be able to drink milk? Right?
Okay.
How's everybody gonna be able to eat the meat of the cow? They ain't gonna be able to. You gonna kill that one cow and 1,000,000 people gonna fight for the one cow. It's gonna turn into a war, right? So you need a lot of cows that's in the room. So when one cow is actually sacrificed for
So everybody
the
can
sake
eat.
of man, so everybody can eat. So when you bring your foot into the door and you don't realize that your foot was placed in the door, so you can open the door to bring other foots into the door, so you can change the elements of the time that you're in, then you actually squandered that time period that you had the opportunity to achieve a certain greatness of a stamp that was actually given to you. right? It's like Jonas in the well. Jonas went to another land, which is Nineveh. He didn't want to go, but he was actually encouraged to go by the will of the Most High. And but when he went, he was able to tell the people a certain message the Most High told him. And those people in the time period that he was in, they repented for their sins, for their transgressions against the laws of the Most High. And the Most High forgave them for their sins, right? If Jonas didn't bring his life into that time, you know what I mean, to help those other people, regardless if he was encouraged or not, or persuaded or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that in his time period, he was able to go and travel to another space, right? And let them people know, listen, this thing will become of you if you do not repent and show grace and gratitude to the Most High for creating you according to this time, right?
And
And those men and women repented.
and that says a lot right there, Nathaniel, because when you look at each one of us as individuals, each one of us has a purpose. Each one of us was we're here. We were created for a reason and a purpose. Just like Jonah, he ran from his purpose. He was trying to run from it. He
That's
was,
right. He was
you
trying to run
know,
from it.
he was trying to run from it. He was trying to run from that time that he had been
Yeah,
given. He had been given
yeah,
a certain amount of time to perform a certain task, which
that's
was
correct.
his purpose for being
Purpose
here, you
at that
know,
time.
at that time. So
Yeah,
now here we are today looking, and I always talk about the introspection, reflection, and understanding self, and understanding and determining what is our purpose
yeah,
with the
yeah,
time that we have been
yeah.
given. What is our
That's right.
purpose?
Yeah,
Why am I
that's
here?
right.
Am I have I reached the age of 50 and I say, well, I don't know my purpose, so therefore I give up and I don't life is over. Now I'm just existing. I haven't I'm so my time up until that time that age, I may not have utilized that, but maybe just like Jonah had to go through those experiences in order to go to Nineveh and deliver his message. I'm sure after that experience, Jonah had a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because like when you look at like movies and stuff like that, or even like somebody in your family passed away. When you look at the death certificate, it always say the time that the person expired.
Right.
It always tell you what time the person expired because that time is so essential, right? Because that proves that time is evident, right? This person
Mm-hmm.
died at 2:35 a.m. 2:35 a.m. is an evident thing. There's always going to be on that death certificate of what time that person passed away. So the time is really extremely important. But when we don't see our time as being important like that, we wind up losing grasp of actually just being in the moment, right? Because we always like looking into another space, like trying to find ourselves in another space, you know what I'm saying? And believe that the space that we find ourselves in is going to be the best space for us. It's like, what are you doing with the time you have been given, right? It's like, how do you benefit from your time? I read a story and it was a sad story, but it was a young woman. She graduated from college. She graduated from high school and she was going to college. So her mother said, I'm going to, celebrate her achievement and bought her a ticket to Jamaica because she was Jamaican. She wanted her to experience, what it would be like to be in Jamaica because she was a Jamaican woman. And she went to Jamaica and somebody abducted her, did some things to her, and then killed her. right?
Wow.
And you looking at the time and you're like, how did this even happen? You know what I mean? Because she placed herself in another space. She went from one space and time to another space, under the pretense of, I'm gonna go take a vacation, but ran into another entity, you know what I'm saying, that wasn't, connected to her life, you know what I'm saying, that didn't value who she was and her accomplishments and things of that nature. And that's a lot of times when we travel from one space to another, we have to see if we're beloved in those certain spaces. That's why when Abraham go to a different land, he always prayed. When Muhammad went to a different land, he always prayed for he could be protected because he didn't know what's in that land. He didn't know what was waiting for him in that time period, in that space, right? Because it didn't belong to him. He didn't know the manner of men or the manner of women that he would meet, right? He didn't know how they took care of their meats or how they took care of their vegetables and things of that nature. So these are things that you have to learn as you're going through your life. From one space to another, all that time is a precious time. They got a lot of men speaking, and say they billionaires and they millionaires and they can control this and they can control that. But when you really look at it, they can control nothing. There's
And
nothing that's
right,
being controlled.
right. And that's why,
There's,
and I was telling you this some time ago, that as a Muslim, we always say inshallah. Inshallah. God willing. We don't know. I say I am going to go to the grocery store.
yeah,
That's my plan.
that's your plan.
Just like this story you were saying about the young girl, she had plans, going to Jamaica, but she didn't know what she was going to encounter. And that's when you were saying praying, I do the same thing every time I get in my car, Nathaniel. I say a prayer.
Yeah,
I Because I feel like I'm going into another land when I get on
it's
the.
true.
It
It's
is.
true. It's true, but that's exactly what it is, though. That's exactly what it is. You're traveling. You're taking who you are, and you're traveling, and you're placing yourself in another space, right?
Right.
And you don't know what that space is gonna look like. I'm gonna give an example. One year, probably like 6 years ago, or whatever, I was living in Atlanta, and I had this Honda. I had this red Honda, right? And it didn't have the greatest appearance, but it did what it's
Okay.
supposed to do for me, right? But
Right.
I made sure I kept, the inner workings intact, right?
Uh-huh.
So one day a spirit hit me and it was like, listen, you need to change your brakes now. And I was like, okay. So I went and got some brakes, and the guy was like, what you want, gold or platinum? I said, yo, give me the platinum, give me the best brakes you got, whatever. And 2 days later, my daughter says, I want to go visit my friend. She's in another town from where we was at in Atlanta. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, we took a road trip. So it's me and my two daughters was in a car. I'm at, regular speed limit. I guess it was like 50 miles an hour, whatever. And as I'm driving, something told me to look over, what I'm saying, to my right. So when I
Mm-hmm.
looked over to my right, I saw like a glimpse of a car, and it was like coming like into the highway from like this offshore path that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see. And when I looked up because I looked to the right, I saw it, and then when I looked back into the road, the man had drove out his car and placed it in the middle of the road and stopped right there in the middle of the road.
Wow.
And I'm doing 50 miles an hour, and I said, "Oh!" So I hit the brakes, and I like inches away from the car. My car stopped
Wow.
inches away from the car on a highway, and people were like, "Choo, choo, choo, choo,"
What?
and yeah, and I'm like, I'm baffled. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, what just happened to me, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
just shows how essential our time is in life. How that 1 second, that 5 minutes, that 10 minutes is very essential. That decision making process. Let me listen to my and go change my brakes. Let me get the best breaks because I never know if something's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen because I'm not the control of this universe. I'm not omnipresent, right? So it's no way that I would
Wow.
know all the things that's going to happen, but I still have to appreciate the time that I'm in and value the messages that actually come to me and let me know what is going on, even though I don't know what's going on, right?
And
I'm trying to know what's going on, but I don't know what's going on.
and you are so right about our connecting with the universe. Some people, to me, that's that God, that intuition that Allah, God, has given to us that we should listen to. But
Yeah,
sometimes we are so busy wasting our time that we're not actually listening to the messages that we're being given. How
yeah.
many how many times have you done this, Nathaniel, where you will have a thought the way you did about the breaks, but you did not follow through with the message that was given you, and you ended up losing?
Many
Or
times, many times,
yes,
because
yes,
we do not value our seconds as we value our breath. If we value the seconds in our lives like we value our breath, then a lot of our lives would be on different planes. We'll be able to do different things and achieve different things in the land. We believe that when we go somewhere, you know, it's just like a pastime, or I'm just going to achieve this, or I'm just going to achieve that. But when we go somewhere, we're going somewhere. It's not to be taken for granted. It's not to be taken lightly, right? When
mm-hmm,
we experience new things in the world, it's for our experience to understand that this experience was given to us. So a lot of time when people say, "I didn't live life, I didn't have a good life," right? They're not paying attention to the experiences that actually took place in their lives. They're not they're not counting the time that they laughed. They're not counting the time that they
right,
smiled to the point where their jaw was aching, right?
right,
They're not counting the time when somebody tickled them for no reason, right? They're not counting those different type of experiences for their lives, right? You're looking at these
that's true.
hard pressed things to try to define, what I'm saying, what their life is. It's like a friend of mine I talked to yesterday, and I was like, "Yo, how you doing?" He was like, "Well, financially, I'm doing bad. I was a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire anymore, and I'm doing bad." And then he was like, I had to learn something that, stop trying to get the big fish when a little fish is easily coming to you, right? So he had to
Mhm.
understand, like, let me take this $10, this $20, this $50, right? Instead of me trying to get 50,000, 100,000, 1.5 million, like let me take the little thing, the little blessings that's coming to me in this time period. Because let's say if I get 10 cents every second for 5 years, right?
Mhm.
I will be a multimillionaire if I get 10 cents every second for 5 years. I will be a
Right,
multimillionaire, right?
right.
So you gotta look at the little intricacies that actually take place in our lives, right? That actually comes to expand and create these big pictures for ourselves. And then you're
Right.
like, how did I get here? Because I looked at the pennies, right? That was connected to my life. I looked at the 10 cents and the 20 cents and things of that nature. Instead of saying, I don't want that because I got bigger fish to fry over here, right?
Mhm.
I got bigger things to do. No, I'm not gonna learn this one scripture because I'm trying to learn the whole Bible at the same time. So I'm not just gonna analyze on this one scripture and try to get this one concept down. I need to get all these concepts down at one time, right?
Mhm.
I don't know how to deal with brotherhood and sisterhood, you know. So I'm not even going to take the time out to understand how to deal with brotherhood and sisterhood. I'm going to wait until another time presents itself for me to learn about the essentials of brotherhood and sisterhood, or the essentials of building a foundation where I actually can do it. I got time to do that later on,
Wow.
right? And
Wow. See?
we're being taught to misuse and to abuse our time on this earth. We're being mistaught. We're being misguided.
Yes.
With
And and that's you said something in that when you were talking about appreciating the small things or the good things in your life. And that was one thing that has really um helped me to be so grateful for where I am because I've talked about my childhood, how there were
mm-hmm,
so many negative things in my childhood, but we laughed a lot. My mother, I mean, we would talk and laugh and have a good time, even though we had all of this other negative stuff going on over here, but we had some good times. And that's what I focus on. That's what I give my my mind to, even when all the negative things that come up from my childhood, I focus on the good. I talk about how my father was abusive, but I focus on the good in him, the things that I learned positive from him. That's what I focus on that time in my life, you know,
yeah,
in order to enhance this period of my life.
that's right. Don't we? It was a oh man, it's weird because I was reading this passage one time, and it was saying that when the day of judgment come against people, their hands is going to be testifying against them, and their feet is going to be testifying against them, and their eyes and things of that nature, things that you don't really think that could have the ability to testify or prophesy against you. Those are the things that's going to prophesy against you because they're going to remember the time that you picked this up, or the
Yeah,
time that you went over here to do this, or the time that you looked upon this and act like you didn't see what was happening, right? It's going to remember all those things. This is your resume, right? Time
right.
is your resume for life, right? It's not your money, it's not your jobs, right? It's not the achievements that you say that you have achieved, because what have you achieved, right? Many things that you say that you have achieved, they become unraveled, right? If you look at a TV show with celebrities before and after, a lot of time the after story, right, is in disproportionate to the time before them, right? They was before they had this great, fabulous life. They was living in mansions and condos. They had the updated cars and things of that nature. And now afterwards, it's like, who is this person? Like, where did the person
Just
that
like
we saw?
your friend that you were talking to.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
had the
Like, what
money.
happened to the? He had the money. He had the money. He always talked about the money. And he used that money to determine what his life consisted of. And the next thing you know, all the money was gone, right? So now you have to find out, what does your life really consist of if your money was to actually disappear overnight, right? If if
Right.
if you're if you know like if you no longer have the awards or the praises of other people, or people are not holding you in high regard, like, what does it consist of now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to really look at your time for life and say, do I have time for the times of my life, right? For the time that I need to basically, incorporate into my life. Do I have that time to do that, right?
Mm.
Or what I would just say, I'm just going to squander this time because I got more time later on. I can do this 5 years from now or 20 years from now. I ran into a friend of mine a couple of days ago, and I saw that he wasn't doing too good. So
Mm-hmm.
I said, what is going on with you? I said, why is you choosing to live in this type of state for your life?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'm choosing to live as this type of man because I have children,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm choosing not to take my life important and my life serious enough where I can have clean clothes, where I can, have a good presence about myself, where I don't have to take care of my basic needs in my life because I don't need to because I have children.
What I don't understand that.
Just what it was.
What about him having children had to do with him having self-care?
He said he don't need self-care because he has children. Everything that he has to go to his children, and he doesn't need to take care of himself.
Oh, wow. Um, and ooh, I have to, that's some rotten thinking. At least in my opinion, that's some rotten thinking.
Yeah, and I was taken aback by it because I told him, I said, you and I, we was living in the streets. We was in the streets when we was younger. We was out there doing crime and things of that nature. And I said, what was the point for us to survive the streets like that? So when we get older, we have no more value for life. We don't value the time period that we're in because we don't, something else has become more important in our lives. I have children, so my children become more important than my own life to the point where I don't actually hold myself to high regards, or I don't show my child that it's important to bathe, or it's important to take care of her
Wow.
teeth, or it's important to do these things because I don't need them anymore. I can just take this quality of life that I have, the time that I have now, which actually has no bearing on me, and just give it to somebody else, right?
That is very
And
sad, really, because to not value your life or value who you are to the extent that you say I'm not worth anything is all about somebody else. Is not
yeah,
about it, and that is a thinking that a lot of people have, maybe not to the extent that he is, where he doesn't do anything for himself, but that, and I was there at one time where, and it wasn't necessarily so much my children as just everybody, everybody became before me. Everybody, I always put other people before me, before I realized that I really don't have very much to give anyone else if I haven't given it to me first, you know.
yeah. You got passages like the meek shall inherit the earth, right? And people actually try to use that concept in a literal sense, right? So I'm not gonna care about my life. I'm meek. You know what I'm saying? And by me not caring about my life now, I'm gonna inherit the earth. And you have to really look at concepts like that because what value has you placed on your spirit where it appreciate the inheritance of the earth?
Right, right,
Right. So if you didn't value your spirit, how would you be given a gift to inherit the earth without the principles to appreciate it?
right. And
Right?
when you talk about time, it is a gift. We've been given this gift of time. You know, we've been given this because time, as you said in the beginning, my time is my life.
That's
You
right.
know, it's not
That's
this
right.
24-hour time. We look at the clock and all. Time is my life. Time is the amount of the space that I've been given to breathe. I've been given breath, the breath of life. It's a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift. And what am I doing with it? What am I, like a friend? He's not taking care of himself. He's not valuing what has been given. This body, this vessel of time.
The Most High took time to create you. You wasn't created out of thin air, right? It took time to create who you are, right? In the womb, time is what allowed you to develop, to get your 10 toes and your 10 fingers and things of the nature, the people that come out like that, right? Some people, don't come out with all their limbs and things of that nature. But either way,
And
time
there's
was
a reason for
time
that. We may
there's a
not
reason for
know.
that. You don't know what the reason for that, but there's a reason for that. The scripture even talks about people being, born a certain way because of what they did in the past life and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So you got to really look at what time does, right? And time, when we look at time, it's a continuum. It doesn't stop because of you, right? You can't control it. You can't dominate it. 1 minute you're walking around the block, the next minute somebody's trying to hurt you, or the next minute a car almost hit you, right? This is different things that's associated to our time periods in life, right? But it's a continuum. It's a being just like you. You may not think that it's a being, but it's also a being just like you. That's why a lot of times when you waste your time will come and tell you, you're wasting me. What are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing the things that you're supposed to be doing? And then you'll say, like, why you, like when they say you're depressed, right? No, you're in the spirit of unrest, right? You're in the spirit of unrest. Something is bothering you. You need to find out what it is and bothering you. Why are you in the spirit of unrest? You want to call it depression. You want to call it anxiety. You want to call it post-traumatic disorders and things of that nature. But it's just spirit that's at a space of unrest because the time that you're in is not utilized for the time that you're in. You're not using the time that you're in for the time that you're in. You know what I'm saying? So you're not at peace with yourself. Every time you look at this TV, people committing suicide. People are actually experiencing suicide by drug overdose, self-induced suicides, right? Because the time that they're in, they're not appreciating that time. They're not seeing, what does my time consist of? What could I be doing with this time other than this or other than that, right? Like, why would I was talking to a guy the other day about business investments. And he said something to me about he don't like to take risks, right? The guy was in prison for 30 years for doing things against his people 30 years ago. He just got released out of prison after doing a 30-year sentence and gonna tell me he don't like taking risks. Right?
So, okay, I don't mean to laugh, but
yeah, but do you understand? So you see, you gotta see, like, how do we correlate our life? Like when we say I don't like taking risks, that's a risk for a man to give you 30 years in prison. That is a risk that you took on your life. Regardless of what it is that you obtained by doing whatever you was doing to get 30 years in prison, you chose to use your time for that thing, and you took a risk with your life. You didn't have to survive 30 years of prison. You did, right? You came out. Now you come home and you say, I don't like to take risks. It doesn't make any sense. So I have to let them know, listen, I know what you're talking about. I lived a certain lifestyle as well. I took risks with my life. So I'm going to take risks for other things that my time has permitted for me to take a risk because I'm still here. Right?
Well, and that's because it's the same thing when people go into business for themselves. When you start, you're taking a risk.
You're taking a risk.
You're taking a risk because every time you meet someone new and take the time to get to know them, you're taking a risk.
That's because
you don't know what your interaction with that person may bring you.
Be. That's right.
So you're taking a risk.
That's right.
Didn't I just say every time I get in my car, I pray?
Why? Because you're taking a risk. You're
yes.
taking a risk. Every time you go into that car, you're taking a risk with your life. Every single time. You can say, oh, I'm a NASCAR driver. They don't know I used to be a getaway driver when I was young. Listen, all that stuff don't matter, right? Because you don't know if somebody going to fall asleep behind the wheel. You don't know if somebody's going to have a heart attack while they're driving their car. You don't know if somebody's going to have a seizure while they're driving their car, right? You don't know if somebody get behind the car and he's drunk, right? This is things that you do not know. So yeah, before I get my car, let me pray that I get home safely the same way I'm leaving. Please allow me to return, right? Because I
Right.
don't know who's out there. I don't know what's out there. I don't know who's out there. I don't know if the people really care about their life the way that I care about my life,
Right.
right? I go in this community, I see a whole bunch of men standing in the corner together. They all gang members. They done put a stamp on their life. Like, I don't care about my life. I'm going to get a beef with people every day, and then somebody going to shoot me, and, so what? So what if somebody kill me? I don't care if somebody kill me, man. You know what I'm saying? This is my life. I can sacrifice it the way I want to. And then you go to the same people and say, listen, man, let's do this together. I don't like taking risks, man. I'm not really into taking risks like that. And I'm like, what are you
Mm-hmm.
talking about, bro? You walk around with a whole red flag in your pocket. That's a risk factor right there, right? You got enemies, and you're doing different things against different people because you say you're this culture or this coach and things of that nature. But we don't really see like the element of what a lot of times that we're doing
Right.
when it comes to the risk factor for our lives. We don't see it.
Yes. And so thank you for this subject to for us to contemplate and to do that reflection and that introspection about what are we doing with our time,
Time.
this
That's right.
gift of
This is a
time.
gift.
It's a
This is
gift.
a gift. It's a gift. It's not a curse. It's not something to be squandered. It's not something to be taken lightly, right? Who you spend your time with, where you spend your time at, what you do with your time, all those things are essential for the times for your life, right? I read a book called Tuesdays with Murray, and he was talking about his life, you know, and he was breaking out to one of his students that actually, took his class, about what his life consists of and how did he map his life out and what did he feel was the importance of his life. And went through the whole book. And at the end of the book, he said the importance of life is life, right? It's not all these other concepts and belief systems and value systems that you create. It's the fact that you even had the right to even have life. And a lot of people don't really appreciate the right to even have life, right? You're waiting for life to turn around a corner, right? And it's not going to turn around a corner because it's right in your face. It's not going to come from the stars and the moon and different things of that nature. It's going to come from within you on how you actually apply those principles, right? Real quick, I was on a train the other day, and it was a little girl. She had to be about 2 or 3 years old. She kept jumping from a different family members off the seat, going to different family members. And she sat by me. I'm sitting here, I'm reading, and she put her hand on my leg. I didn't say anything about it. I just kept reading my book. I felt her hand, but
Mm-hmm.
just a little girl. It doesn't matter to me. But it
Mm-hmm.
was the man that was across from was like, oh, move your hand. You know what I mean? And I was like, she's a part of this life. She's a part of this life. Why could she not keep her hand on my leg? Did I say anything about it? No. It's the way our perception of one another and how we view life that actually causes us to squander the times of our life that's supposed to be a precious thing. Why would she have the notion that she can't put her hand on somebody's lap as a little girl? When she get older, she can look at different things of that nature. But why have to be so intense so you can say this in her mind that she can't be free in spirit in the land,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this is what he taught her at an early age. But even when she was leaving, I made sure I said hi to her. I made sure I said goodbye to her so she could have a good day. So I can actually diffuse the belief system that he was imposing upon her.
Okay. Okay. Nathaniel, thank you.
Yep. Thank you too, sis.
you always give me something to think about, and I really appreciate. And when I say I appreciate you, um, I really do, because you prick my mind, and give me, because now I can say the future is gone. You know, the past is gone. The future is not here. I have this time right now. And what am I doing with this time right now that I have been given? And I am thankful that right now we had an opportunity to really dig into what are we doing with this gift
With our
of time.
time. Of time. That's correct. That's correct.
I would like to take us into our meditation. Are you ready?
That's right. Let's get it. Get to it.
Okay. I am this music that I am playing does not belong to me or Nathaniel. We did not compose it, but we're using it to, at this time that we have been given, to relax, to appreciate this moment. Close your eyes. If you're in a safe space, close your eyes. Take a deep breath and let it out slowly. Take a deep breath and let it out slowly. Relax. Relax the crown of your head. Relax. Relax your forehead. Relax your third eye. Relax. You're coming down your face. Relax your face. Your throat chakra. Relax. Your shoulders. Relax. Your chest, where your heart chakra is. Relax. Coming on down your body into your sacral chakra. Going down into your root chakra. Relax. Take a deep breath and let it out slowly. Relax your legs, going down into your calves and into your feet, your toes. Relax. I'm going to count backwards from 5, and we're going to take a deep breath and let it out slowly. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Peace and blessings.